This is AJ with Effect Radio, and I'm so excited to have a group with me that are the pioneers of Christian contemporary and Christian rock music, and it's their 50th year reunion tour happening now. So excited to welcome John Schlitt and Bob Hartman. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, AJ. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Thank you.
So right off the bat, we're going to talk about this reunion tour. I was so excited to hear about you guys are out touring again and just hitting the stage. And I think the last time you were on stage together was like 2005, so it's been a little while. Can you tell me a little bit about how people can connect, how they reach out, find out where you're touring at, maybe even getting you to their town? Is that a possibility? Tell us a little bit about the reunion tour.
Yes, they can go to petraband.com and see our schedule. We're playing actually all over the country. In fact, let me mention just a few of these. We're going to be August 2nd in Seekonk, Massachusetts. That's our only New England concert. So if anybody's listening in New England, that's Seekonk, Massachusetts, right next to Providence, Rhode Island. August 4th, we're in Joppatown, Maryland. August 12th, we're in Allgood, Tennessee. August 18th in Arlington, Texas. August 20th at the Illinois State Fair in Springfield, Illinois. We're at Louisville, Kentucky on September 23rd, and in Paducah, Kentucky on September 30th. And so far, there's a few more being talked about, but we're going to be in Germany again in October for the Loud and Proud Festival there.
So we got Maryland, Tennessee, Texas, Kentucky, Germany. Petra, look for them. Also, petraband.com or petrareuniontour.com. So our listeners can get on board for the 50th anniversary tour. So excited for that. Real fast, I just want to congratulate you guys. 50 years of using your musical talents to perform, write music. I just want to say thank you for encouraging people with their faith and making amazing music.
Thank you. It's always been a thrill for us. And this hasn't changed. The 50th anniversary was actually, I think, for Bob and I, a surprise. When we retired, we thought, okay, that's it. But when 50th came around, we're all still alive. Bob goes, maybe we should do a 50th anniversary. And it was one of the coolest things he could have said, because it's turned out to be a real adventure, a lot of fun. The fact that we can still rock and roll at our age was actually a surprise, and a pleasant surprise. So, and it's been a blessing to a lot of fans who may have missed our farewell tour and said, "Oh shoot, I wish I'd have gotten." And now they get a chance to come and see us and talk with us again. And it's been a real pleasant time. Actually, it started last year and this year and next year. How can that be? Well, trust me, it works. And it's been just a real fun time for us.
So they have a second chance to come see you at a concert near them. Thank you for allowing your fans to have a second chance to come see Petra touring again. And real fast, we play a lot of music of you guys. We get a lot of requests for Petra. One of our listeners, she said that she loves the coloring song because when her kids were younger, she has memories of actually listening to that song while her kids were coloring. So a lot of your music has so much memories with our listeners. And I wanted to ask you about how you are known as more of a Christian rock band, but you do have a lot of worship songs out there as well. And probably both of you would want to have a different take on this possibly. Do you have a favorite? Do you prefer the rock over the worship music, or does it go hand in hand? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have quite a wide variety of music, and there are songs that we've done that are very special to us and have received a lot of feedback. For instance, the song No Doubt is a ballad. And we've received some really incredible testimonies about that song. And of course, we did a couple of praise albums, actually 3. And so there's a lot of material on those that people request. I think for us, we love the mixture of it. Right now on the 50th anniversary tour, we're doing an acoustic set where I play acoustic guitar. Our bass player plays the cello quite well. And we use keyboards and a little bit of percussion. And we do a medley of some of our more lighter songs. So we try to get around everything on the tour. And hopefully everybody's pleased. We can't play everything that everybody wants, but we try to do the best we can.
I'm a rocker, as Bob is. And at this point in my life, I really am thinking more evangelistic. I really feel that Petra's music has been an amazing tool for evangelistic direction. Praise and worship is a wonderful thing, and it also can be evangelistic. But because of our label, a rock band, a lot of times people come to the concert expecting a pretty exciting adventure. And I really like the fact that we have the songs to do that. Like Bob said, though, we have a section where we do the slower songs, and we do several of our praise and worship songs too. So if I was going to lean in one direction right at this moment, I think I'd lean in the rock direction, only because I think it's very valuable evangelistically.
So I don't know if either of you will be able to answer this, but do you have a favorite song to perform? Like during this tour, is there going to be a song that you guys just absolutely love? It might be different for both of you, but which song, is there a certain song that you guys like to perform?
I think for me, it's probably always been He Came, He Saw, He Conquered.
I love that song.
Even though it's gotten harder as I've gotten older, but it's always been a real inspirational song. And I have, I can say, felt the presence of God on stage many times as we played that song over the years.
That's not fair. I think the same thing. I think really when you add everything up, it was part of This Means War. And that album was absolutely a very declarative album. And it really was synonymous for that record or for that CD. And it's always been a real treat to be able to sing it or, have it part of our set. Now, I also like a song that Bob mentioned, this No Doubt. It has always been a real close song to my heart. But I mean, then we start naming Prayer, Love,
Creed.
Oh my
Beyond
gosh.
Belief.
Yeah, Beyond. And you're never done naming them. You go, yeah, because of this, because of that. But if we're going to pick one song, or in my case, 2, that's what it would be.
All right. Along those lines, I was going to also ask if you had a certain project or album that was your favorite. So this isn't as narrow, but it's still narrow. Do you have like a project over the last 50 years that stands out to you? Maybe it's this one.
Can I name 6?
Sure, why not? We have 10 fingers, right?
Okay. How about This Means War, On Fire, Beyond Belief, Petra Praise 1 and 2, and No Doubt.
Okay, perfect. What about you, Bob? Anything to add?
Well, that's almost every album that John sang on.
No, it's not.
There you go. I can see what's happening.
No. Yeah, I think Beyond Belief is really a high point for the band. It was a time when a lot of things came together. We had reached a place where we were really being trusted by churches, which was important to us. And we saw a lot of great things happen around the time of that album.
So there was recently a book and a documentary that came out titled Jesus Music. And Petra is one of the groups that are credited for being the godfather, if you will, of Christian contemporary music. How do you feel that the music has changed? Did you ever see that it would go as big as it has?
I never saw that, but the Lord has really done some miraculous things. I know even just with Petra, but there's a lot of bands out there, a lot of artists out there who have really stuck to it and made a real difference, I think, in the kingdom of God. And that's been a really important work in this day and age. And, it's just great for young people to have music that they relate to, that relates them to the Lord. And that's the way it's always been. God uses it for that reason, and I think he's still using it.
Music changes every year. I mean, every album we did has a little different direction, because music is very flexible, and that's never changed. And it's very different now than it was when we first started. Shoot, it's very different now than when we finished. It's exciting, still exciting. The groups that put Christ first are, I think, doing fantastic. I love it. I think it's great. That's always been our vision, and to see that the next generation sees that same vision is a real treat. So when you see bands that put Christ first and are out there being super pros and, like Bob said, making a difference in kids' lives, that's what it's all about. So it's changed, but it hasn't.
Absolutely. Well, we can see that you guys have influenced a lot of Christian music that you hear today. But I want to ask you, which bands, and you can even go back to way back, which bands influenced Petra?
For me, one of the key artists that was an inspiration to me was Larry Norman. And he's now passed away, but Larry was a very special artist, and he really, I think, influenced me a lot. And of course, as a musician, as a guitar player, Phil Keaggy, can't go wrong there. So those two artists were, I think, very special for me.
It's going to be strange. So I joined Petra after Petra had become the biggest Christian rock band of the world. So one of my major influences was Petra. That by far the most influential band at that time for me, Christian-wise, was Petra. There was nobody else as far as I was concerned. Phil Keaggy was an amazing artist. I enjoyed him. But I came from the secular side of things. So groups that influenced me were probably Journey, Foreigner, Styx, the ones that had the high singers, the very excellent musicians. But as far as the word was concerned, Petra.
And this is a little bit of a side note for you, John. I have shared your testimony before on the air, just a shortened version of it, because I thought it was amazing. Did you ever think back when you were at your lows that you would be singing for a Christian rock band?
No, that's easy. Absolutely not. I figured, that's where when I became a baby Christian, I had my thoughts about what God was going to do. Typical baby Christian, what God's going to do, which you never do. But I felt that I was too dirty. There's no way God could ever use me again because of all the stuff I did in my secular world. But I praise God that I was giving a second chance to take care of my family. That's the only thing I could think of. And I got out of music totally. And, that's for 5 years I was out of music, and I was going forward in my civil engineering field. To me, music was gone, never to be again. But I will say that once I started learning a little more about, actually, when I realized the blood of Christ was shed for me, and there wasn't anything that made me too dirty to be used. I remember one day going to in my church, and they had a church had a great praise and worship team. And I went to a guy who later became one of our road managers. And I said, you know what? I think one of these days I'm going to sing in a praise and worship band. And at this time I hadn't sung anything for 3 or 4 years. And he looked at me going, yeah, right. And, lo and behold, two or 3 years later, I'm singing with Petra. And he brought that to my memory again. But only God could do that. Think about it. I was out of music totally for 5 years. And all of a sudden, the leader of the biggest Christian rock band in the world calls me up and said, "Would you consider singing for Petra?" That only God does that. And so to make that short question, a long answer, there you are.
No, I appreciate that. And Bob, do you have anything to add? You took a risk on John, didn't you?
Sure did. Yeah. I really didn't know, if John was still following the Lord, or I had heard he'd gotten saved. I didn't know if he, would even be the type of person we'd want in Petra. And the more we got together, the more we, spent time together, we realized that God had done something, as John said, miraculous. And we never auditioned anybody else. With just John came in the band, and he had just the right experience, just the right heart to do what we were doing and to be able to carry on. And we look at it as a miracle for Petra as much as it was a miracle for John.
Well, it just shows how God can work. And I love what John said, that you let God use you. Because none of us are really righteous enough to do anything. That's why we have Jesus. So I appreciate that. I know it was a long answer, but we needed that long answer. So thank you. Appreciate that. Do you guys have a favorite Bible verse?
My answer is yes. Whenever someone asks me that or wants me to put a favorite, Revelations 12:11, where it says, "By his blood and by our testimony," which basically says, only by his blood were we given that second chance. But his one commission was tell the world about me. And I don't think there's any better way to do it than the testimony that is part of your life. It's very personal. But a testimony can also be, tell the world about Christ.
Yes, for me, it would be Proverbs 3:5-6. "In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths." I have found that to be very true in my life.
I've personally used that verse a lot too. So to close out, what would both of you like to leave with our listeners?
Come to our show. No. Christ is alive and well, has a plan for each one of your lives. There's no reason to ever face this world by yourself. The God of the universe wants to walk with you, carry you sometimes. Why don't you take advantage of that? Let the Lord go before you. Let him show you what he has in store for you, and you will live an amazing life.
Yeah, there's a verse that says, "When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of God will raise up a standard against him." And I think right now is that time for God to raise up that flag, and for Christians to stand together and stand for what we believe and be strong.
Once again, this is AJ on Effect Radio. I was interviewing John Schlitt and Bob Hartman, and they are headed to the New England area, Maryland, Tennessee, Texas, Illinois, Kentucky, Germany, probably some that I forgot to write down, but you can go to petrareunion.com. Thanks, John, and thanks, Bob, for joining me.